Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Sarah Scoop Show Entertainment Edition. My name is Logan Van Winkle. I am an entertainment contributor here at sarahscoop.com. I recently had the opportunity to sit down with Cindy Chupack, the writer and director of Netflix's new movie Otherhood, starring Patricia Arquette, Angela Bassett, and Felicity Huffman. I hope you enjoy listening. So, this is your first directed movie. So I just want to know a little bit about yourself and how you got into the industry.
Well, I grew up in Tulsa, Oklahoma, so not too far from Kansas City. And I just always knew I wanted to write, and I was trying to figure out how to make a living as a writer. So I went to journalism school at Northwestern, wasn't great at hard news. Eventually wrote like a comic essay that I just sent into the magazine when I lived in New York, and then that sort of found my career because I started writing more essays, and somebody saw it and told me to think about sitcom writing. And then I wrote kind of just mediocre shows for a long time until I finally got on Everybody Loves Raymond, and then from there I got to Sex and the City.
What advice would you have for people that are in the Midwest and want to write, want to direct for film or TV? What advice would you have for them?
Well, now it's so much more of a democracy because you can put things on the web, wherever you are. But I would say that essay I wrote, because it was a comic essay, it was my voice, first person. It was kind of like I didn't know this or mean it for this, but it was like sending up a flare of like, here's my voice, and then it found my career. So I believe in like storytelling, like The Moth, one-man show, stand-up comedy, improv, a blog, make your own film. There's so many ways to sort of put your voice out there and hope that it finds your career.
And so you worked on Everybody Loves Raymond, as you mentioned, and Sex and the City and Modern Family. Does any one of those stick out to you as the one that feels very personal to you, or the one that you had the most fun or just the most creative freedom to work on?
Well, definitely Sex and the City I loved because that was one of the first shows I worked on that was really about what me and my friends were talking about. But I loved working on Raymond because we brought in our own family stories and our stories of our relationship with our siblings and our parents, and that was how Phil Rosenthal ran that room. And then Modern Family was fun because I loved this show, but it's actually not a great writer's room for women. They seem to fire a woman every year. So that was a little tougher because it was a little bit harder to for a writer's room, you have to just feel really safe to pitch your stupidest ideas and your whatever. And anyway, so Raymond was definitely like that, and Sex and the City was really like that. And we were filming all over New York, and it was just a great experience.
This morning, actually, I just graduated from college, and so I'm at home with my parents. And my dad, I told him that I was coming to interview you, and he saw you on the news, and he was really excited because he loves Everybody Loves Raymond. So he was very excited.
This morning?
Yeah,
we did. We did all three networks.
Yeah, he was really excited. He was like, oh, you have to ask her about Everybody Loves Raymond.
It was great to work on.
Yeah,
it was great.
And then, so this new movie, Otherhood, I saw that it's based on a book. And so, what drew you to the story?
The book was originally called Whatever Makes You Happy, and then I eventually changed the name of the screenplay to Otherhood. But I think what drew me was, I really like writing about relationships and kind of extraordinary, ordinary stories. So this has a female friendship, 3 women whose sons grow up together. It has the boys' friendship, the relationship between the mothers and the sons, the relationship of the women with their husbands. There was a lot to balance and try to make real and honest, and I just thought it was really interesting to dig into all those relationships. And then in addition, I'm my own relationship with my mom, and then now I'm a mom. In the course of trying to make this, I actually my husband and I adopted our daughter, so now the friends that we make that we've met because she started school with these kids, I understand how those could be friends for life because you just go through all these stages together.
So what was it like working with Angela Bassett and Patricia Arquette and Felicity Huffman?
It was like being entrusted with some national treasures.
Yeah.
I felt like I just want to make something they're proud to have been in and that they enjoy making. And they were so fun to work with and so supportive of me as a first-time female director of a film. I think they enjoyed working on a set that had a lot of female department heads and women. You know, we had a great producer who used to be president of Women in Film. So it was just a very nurturing and safe and fun, warm set. And I think that they felt that, and then they helped create that, actually.
Yeah. So, I mean, you kind of touched on it just now, but can you talk a little bit about what it's like to be a woman in the industry as now a director, but also in the past as a producer and a writer?
Yeah, I mean, on a lot of TV shows I worked on, you were kind of like one of the few women writers in the room. That Mindy Kaling Late Night sort of illustrates that, because Late Night is still very guilty of having very few women in the writer's room and very few female hosts, only Samantha Bee, really. Yeah. So I was kind of used to being like one of the, you know, sort of representing women and the voice of women. So when I finally worked on like Sex and the City, which had a lot of women in the writer's room, it was just a nice experience to be able to have common language, and I think women are well, I guess we're just, we're used to commiserating and talking together about the hardest things, and those are often the best stories.
Yeah. So what, do you feel like a sense of pressure whenever you're in a writer's room where it is predominantly men? Do you feel like a sense of pressure to be the voice for women, as you kind of talked about?
Yeah, I think that's part of the problem of there not being as many female directors or as many, it's, you know, getting better and better, but yeah, I think nobody should be, you know, there's a diversity of female. I mean, I try to be aware and listen to and represent all sorts of different women and just humans. So I wouldn't say that I assume that my point of view represents all women. I try to think of it through the character lens. But yeah, I think that's hard. I think it's hard for minorities too, when there's like one minority writer in the room, or, you know, one like a different, like a one gay writer that is then expected to be, you know, representative of the gay perspective. Right. It's just good to have a diverse writer's room where you have a lot of different voices and thoughts and ideas.
Right. And I think that, I mean, that just, it makes for a better movie, TV show, just experience as a whole, in my opinion. But like you said, I think that it's getting better. Looking ahead, I know that there are a lot coming out, like later this award season, and, you know, Marvel just announced next year they have 2 movies coming out, and both are directed by women, so that's really cool. Yeah. So I think it's getting better, but it's you know, slowly but surely.
Yeah. I mean, I know for me, it took a bit of a getting over my own view of like what a director was supposed to be, and I think I still had in my head the male director with the baseball cap, ordering a mostly male crew around. It just seemed like a hard role to step into, but I think as more women do it, it'll be easier for women to visualize doing it. Yeah,
and so as I've kind of talked about, I just graduated, and in one of my classes, like we talked about how gender just like affects like down the line, and so we talked about like how whenever women started to be given the opportunities to be in charge, because they learned from a male-dominated view, it was still kind of like that. And so we're starting to get a shift to where it's not just like a male-dominated view coming from a woman's voice, where it's like everyone feels represented. So I think that's really good.
Yeah, I think we saw that with Hillary Clinton, who I was a big fan of, but I think there was a bit of a double standard of like she can't seem too feminine, but if she seems too masculine, people, we're not exactly sure what to do with women in power. But the more women that are in those positions of gatekeeping, really, like green lighting movies, that's going to change a lot, or being the head of a studio. Being in the position to green light content makes a big difference.
The movie, I watched it this past weekend. I really enjoyed it. So it's a good mix of both comedy and, you know, drama. So what was the energy on set like? Did you have that mix, or what was it like?
Well, that was why I was so happy to have these actresses, because my sweet spot of a tone that I was hoping to hit and that I try to hit in my essays and memoirs and television is kind of bittersweet. And laughing through tears and crying through laughs, and I think the line is so thin between drama and comedy, and I think comedy makes drama better and drama makes comedy better. So to have actresses that have that kind of gravitas and depth that these did, I knew they could make it real, and then I knew that they would be funny if they played it real. And so it was fun. It was fun on set. I think everyone had fun, but then also, took the job seriously. It wasn't just comic actors. It was really great actors who could do a whole range and then were able to enjoy doing comedy because they often aren't doing comedy.
Yeah. Well, rest assured, it made me cry.
Oh, good.
The end of the movie, yeah.
Happy.
No, I enjoyed it a lot. And so this movie, you kind of touched on it with your relationship with your mother and now with your adopted daughter. But did this movie feel personal to you as you were making it?
Yeah, because. In fact, there were moments I didn't even realize how personal they were until, Angela performed the scene, and then I would be watching and getting choked up and realize how much I related to some of the things she was saying. And my daughter actually was an extra in the Soho shopping scene. She's like over on the side eating ice cream, which she would now tell kids don't do because she had to do it for like 3.5 hours. But anyway, she was on set with me, and she introduced the movie when we did a screening in New York with me and said, "My mommy made this movie." Mm-hmm. So even though I have all the guilt of every working parent of being away to do things, it's just nice to see her growing up knowing she could do anything she wants.
Yeah. So going from writing, producing TV to directing a feature film, how did you experience that transition?
Well, the good thing about writing and producing TV is it's almost like boot camp. You write so many episodes and you see them go from idea to on the air. Whereas people who just write film or novels, you can spend your whole life doing one. And sometimes they don't get made, or they take so long to get made, like this movie did, that you just haven't had the experience of knowing in your gut it's good enough, it's ready to go, and knowing when a performance is good and knowing how it's going to resonate with audiences. So I feel like I had that boot camp of doing a lot of episodes of television and seeing them all the way through. And also everything I'd done in television was, of course, applicable because I'd been on sets, I'd worked with actors, I'd, cast and edited. So that was good. But then doing a film that I'd had in my head for so long and just wanted to see realized, to finally have the actors from script to just see it all the way through and be able to control every aspect, because Netflix is very respectful of filmmakers. So just from picking the department heads to working with the composer on the music for every scene, and the needle drop what the songs were going to be in, the wardrobe with Pat Field, who I worked with on Sex and the City, and the locations, because we had a great locations department in New York, so we had these, finally to see apartments that kind of, as I'd been visualizing them. Even the Hudson Hotel, there's a scene on the escalator. I had this sort of vision board in my apartment, I still have it, and that was one of the pictures, that escalator, because I always thought, I want this to almost feel like a Raiders of the Lost Ark quest, that these women are having to do something kind of difficult. Yeah. And there was something dramatic always to me about that escalator at the Hudson Hotel. So when we actually got to film at the Hudson and film on that, it felt really gratifying.
What do you have to say to people who maybe, they have a Netflix subscription and there's so much content on there? What do you have to say to people who are like, oh, maybe I should watch this movie? Why do you think they should watch Otherhood?
Well, I think there's a lot of bad news right now. There's a lot of these are sometimes feel like dark times, and we feel very divided as a country. And I think this movie celebrates what we have in common, which is, we all have these issues with motherhood, female friendship, our, mother-son relationships, empty nesting. So I think it's a very unifying and uplifting, ultimately hopeful movie about what we have in common and what we all go through. And I think it's also hopefully entertaining, a fun movie you could watch with your family or your girlfriends, and just enjoy, hopefully.
What's your next project? Do you have anything that you're looking forward to in the future, or is it like a matter of let's focus on this one right now and go on to the next later?
I felt like I want to land this plane, get it out into the world, and then move on. But I've always been interested in animated films. I'd love to write an animated film, like I love Pixar. Or maybe a limited series, or to direct something that I wrote myself, that original idea of mine.
Well, I look forward to seeing whatever you do.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, there you have it. That was Cindy Chupack, the writer and director of Otherhood. It will be available this Friday, August 2nd, only on Netflix. I recently watched the movie. I really enjoyed it. But to read my full review, visit sarahscoop.com. Bye!